Well, Coach Campbell, good to see you. Most folks don't know this, but I know you personally now after a few years, and I want to thank you for the number of times that you've allowed me and the Alumni Association to engage with your program. Secondly, it's important for us to acknowledge today just how excited of a season you, your players, and coaches provided to Cyclone Nation. As you're aware, and hear me tell your student recruits all the time, we have alums that are everywhere. And during this time of COVID, athletics has been an incredible opportunity to keep people engaged. And the season that you folks produce, and then to finish as Fiesta Bowl champions, please accept our congratulations and thank you again for joining us.
First and foremost, Jeff, thank you so much for the great introduction. I just want to say this from my end in our football programs, and to you, Jeff, what you have done has been an anchor in terms of the success that we have been able to have. You know, the time that you have spent in terms of helping us identify the right character and human beings to come into our program, to the development and really understanding the value of what it means to be a Cyclone. And I think, Jeff, you have been such a key piece of the success of our football program, who we are and who we have brought in, to what it means to put on a jersey each and every Saturday and who we're representing. So I do want to say just a sincere thank you. And I really don't believe we would be anywhere near where we are as a program without your guidance and leadership.
So, Coach, you've used the phrase trust the process since you arrived at Iowa State as a head coach. Can you explain what this phrase means for the program and how you've seen your players buy into it over the years?
Yeah, I think that's the cliche of trust the process. I think the biggest word that's most critical in that statement is the word trust. And, when we came to Iowa State, I'll never forget the first meeting that we ever had with our student athletes. I know the thing that I said is that at some point in this program, when we have success, there will be one foundational piece that stands out within our walls. And that word is trust. And that foundation is trust. And, it's funny because in college football, trust is a very unique thing to be able to find and see. But to me, it flows in four different areas. It flows with the relationship from coach to coach. It flows in the relationship from coach to player. It flows in the relationship from player to player. And it certainly flows in the relationship back from player to coach. And so, I think one of the things been so unique is putting the day-to-day habits and processes to becoming the best version of yourself, so that quality of trust can run strong through our program. And I think that's really what that process, or that phrase of trust the process, is the ability to one day at a time earn the right to become the best version of yourself you can be for the betterment of the program, to really get to the root of that value of trust. And something we work really hard in, something we continue to work really hard in to become and reach our full potential.
So, Coach Campbell, as our football coach, you have a great responsibility of leading a group of young men at a very, very influential time in their lives. And there are a lot of voices in their heads and in their ears and in their faces. Walk us through how you and your staff have been able to work with your student athletes to create the current culture you have, and what expectations are for these young men on a day-to-day basis. And I would add to that, doing that in light of COVID, where in some ways one could say some things were taken from all of us, but especially these young men who have to focus and give you that trust that you speak about.
Yeah. Well, and I think it all comes down, Jeff, to relationships. And from my end of it, that is what I love about my job. That's what I love about what we get to do. And it's building sincere, authentic relationship. And, I constantly remind our coaches, and I remind the leadership in our football program, is, we have a phrase of young people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And
Right.
that's a great quote that is really has stuck with the foundation of how we built this program. And, I think it always reminds ourselves back to, boy, the developing authentic and real relationships. And when we look at our job really is to love, care, and serve the young people that we get the opportunity to work with on a day in, day out basis. And, I think when you talk about what did COVID really give to us in a really profound and positive way, I think it allowed us two things. Number one, it allowed us reflection. Obviously, the months of March, April, and May last year put us into a point where, I think probably was a great benefit to all of us because it allowed us to have some time away and to really reflect on what's important. And I think one of the things for myself and our staff was it put the priority of relationships with each other, with our families, and then also with the student athletes that we get the opportunity to serve every day. It put those at a premium. And, I think one thing I'll give so much credit to our coaching staff and the leadership within our players is the ability to stay connected during that time of quarantine a year ago. And I really think that was huge. The number one priority that we put on our process to grow during quarantine was that we felt like it was critical that we stay connected with our student athletes. And we had a personal touch point on a daily basis for 3 months with each of our players. And I really felt that was critical because, you're talking about a time where, yes, maybe we or our families or our loved ones were going through hard times. But boy, the 18 to 22-year-olds that we were coaching, they were back home now and they were dealing with real life adversity, real life issues that were present right in front of their faces, not only with them trying to become, finish school online or do a really good job of staying in shape physically, but I think the challenge of what this pandemic was doing to their own families. And some of our players had to get jobs. Some of our players had to be caretakers to their siblings for their parents. And I think there was a lot of things that were really challenging the mental psyche of our 18 to 22-year-olds, where that real relationship, that authentic relationship, our job to be teachers and our job to be guides in the lives of our 18 to 22-year-olds, it really came into vision of really what is our job and our responsibility. And I couldn't be proud of our coaches and our staff for doing a great job of guiding and being guideposts for our young people through tough and trying times.
Well, Matt, Coach Campbell, I'm going to jump ahead of Matt here because you just said something that I want to pivot to a question on. And that is, you and your wife, Erica, have 4 young children. During the year, you and your staff put in long hours between recruiting, practicing, and preparing for games. And you spoke about family in your response. It wasn't, and I just think that's important, that relationship is important. How are you able to balance family with work?
Yeah, I think, Jeff, personally, even from my end, what one of the greatest growth process that I found in the last year is probably an area that I would love to get on here and say, boy, I've done such a great job of finding that balance. And yet, I would tell you that I think I knew in some ways prior to, having this quarantine that probably I was failing in some of those areas. For me, a young professional, got a head coaching job at 31 years old. I feel like everything was going at max speed for the last 9-10 years. And for the first time in my life in March, things were able to really slow down. And, I really got to be at home. And man, there were times that in terms of the quarantine, you're like, holy smokes, the appreciation for your wife of dealing with a 6th grader at the time a year ago, a 4th grader at the time a year ago, a kindergartner, and then a preschooler. It was like, geez, man, your sincere appreciation. This is what's going on at home every day. And the time and the effort and the commitment that's being made that these young people and your wife are making for you to do your job, and maybe at times to raise other people's children, and yet you also hold a key priority of raising your own children and being a great father and a husband at home. And so I think, we were able to all gain great perspective. And, one of the challenges I gave our coaching staff a year ago was the ability to grow. And I think for me, I had to grow. And I think that was an area for me coming out of that quarantine of how do we continue to develop a schedule, not just for Matt Campbell, but also for our coaches, because our coaches have young families, and how can I make sure we do a great job of being better fathers and being better husbands at home? Because I feel like if we're better fathers and husbands at home and we're aligned there, then we can be even better servants to the players in our own program when we're there and being present when we're at work. And so I think I've been able to grow a lot in that way. And I think the first step is just recognizing, just how important that was. And I know I always believed it, but actually putting action into beliefs, I think that was an area for me that has grown immensely, even over the last 6 months.
Coach, you talked a lot about culture earlier and growing that culture. And I know from the minute you came in to Iowa State, something that you really wanted to do was to bring those former players back, those football alumni, to be part of your program. So why was it so important for you to keep those connections with those Iowa State alums and have them around your guys?
Well, I think one of the things that you felt really fast when we got to Iowa State was the great pride that the alumni and the current student body took in everything that was going on the campus. And it was one of the things that I absolutely adored about my early days here at Iowa State. You would drive through campus, and you whether it was the student body, whether it was the band, whether it was the basketball games, there was just such an amazing energy. And then as you got more involved with the university, the pride that the alumni had, and not for me, not just the football alumni, but all of our alumni in their education here, their time involved in the student body, their time involved going to athletic events. You just felt the importance that this university had and the effect that it had on the people that have graduated here and the pride that they took in their university and institution. And I really felt two things. Number one, that was something that was a springboard that we could use and springboard our own success off of, is number one, engaging that understanding that it meant something to be an Iowa State Cyclone. It meant something to get a degree from here, and it meant something to put a jersey on and represent this university. And then I think the second thing was, I think it also put a realistic expectation on myself and our staff to bring the right people here to our university, to make sure that we were representing our program in the university in a way that wasn't just winning football games, but winning it the right way, because I think that's something that makes this place really special. And probably my greatest pride of what we've been able to accomplish here is not the fact that we've been able to have success. That's great that success has occurred in terms of wins and losses. But I think great success has occurred in terms of what our young people have done in the classroom. The young people that have graduated from our program, the leadership that they've taken out of our program and into their own communities or their own lives. And then I think even bigger than that is the way that our young people represent themselves in terms of some of their own successes. You look at the Brock Purdy's and the David Montgomerys, the Brees Halls, and how they carry themselves, not only within this community, but giving back and making a difference within our community and to our alumni base and to this university, to make our university proud of who they are, not just what they do. That's really important to me, and something that I believe has been a pillar of building this program for the long haul, not just for short-term success.
That's great. So, Coach Campbell, as you look ahead, there's some exciting things ahead for this program, and that's not any pressure. People are just excited. And that includes the new Sports Performance Center that will be coming online soon. How excited are you to get into this facility? Talk a little bit about your piece of dreaming with Jamie about this and how this fits into the overall scope of athletics here at Iowa State.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm really excited because I think one of the things that is so phenomenal about this facility is, yes, there are some pieces that are great for our football program. Obviously, a new locker room, which is needed, and some space that allow our football players to be 18 to 22-year-olds and to be able to find a sense of kind of a gathering space where they can be kids and they can be around each other. And I'm really excited that that's occurring. But I think the greater excitement for me is this has such a profound effect on all of our student athletes. I think the first thing that I would talk about is the expansion of our academic center. I think one of the things that Jamie has done such a great job of is being a student athlete here is not just about excelling in sports, is we want to excel in every aspect of our lives. And the fact that we are really growing and giving this incredible space and this incredible unification for the academic portion of the student athlete experience, I'm really excited about that. I think number two, a real excitement for an area that I am such a big believer in, and that is, on the second floor of this facility, for all of our student athletes, is essentially life after sport. And, Jeff, it's probably one of my greatest passions about not only my job as a coach, but my job of, man, we get these young student athletes to be 21, 22-year-old men and ready to go out and serve the community. And I think this area of connection that we're creating between the end of a student athlete's experience here at Iowa State and then also the beginning of a student athlete's journey into the real world. I think that's part of our responsibility as a community. I think it's part of our responsibility as coaches. And I think it's our responsibility as a university to do a great job of guiding and creating those connections for our young people to be successful when they step into the real world. And I'm really, really excited we're giving a space to that here within this facility. And I think it's got a great opportunity to only continue to connect our alumni and continue to connect our current student athletes and really do a great job of paving a way forward for our student athletes out of Iowa State and into the real world.
Well, thank you.
And Coach, I want to say, Coach, thanks for giving us some time. And I want to point something out, Jeff. Coach has got some film he's breaking down in the back, so we don't want to keep him for too long, right?
All right. Well, I wanted to say two things as well. First, I love that trophy in the background. I can see it, so I can see you're not sleeping with it. You're actually keeping it on guard.
We got it on guard.
And I also saw the books on your desk, and when you were speaking, I thought about the book, The Servant.
I love it.
And it speaks volumes to what you've expressed this morning about loving your players and caring for them. And as a manager, boss, whatever someone wants to call me, one of the things this book speaks to is that we're not called just to do our jobs. We're called to love the people we do those jobs for. And so thank you again for all that you do. Thanks for being at Iowa State. Again, thanks for finding ways to be a partner in this process. And if we can do anything for you going forward, I know you know our number, our location. Please call on us. Have a great rest of the semester. And again, go Cyclones.
Guys, thank you for everything. I appreciate it. And the same thing from my end. Anything I can do or you need from me, please let me know. And go Cyclones. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach Campbell.